All right, so yesterday on lesson 6.5 we started P over 100 equals is over of. We're going to continue to use our plan for this lesson also. So please remember P over 100 equals is over of, and that P stands for percent. Let's pick out the stuff in this paragraph. A school soccer team won 80% of its matches. The team won 40 matches. So the 80% is winnings, and this is winnings. We could also say they lost 20% of their games, because 20 and 80 would have to add up to 100. But it didn't ask how many they lost, it asked how many they won. So we're going to use the 80% and the 40. How many matches did the soccer team play? So we're going to use our P over 100 equals is over of. So if we come down here where we have a little bit of room, we have P over 100 equals is over of. Let's go up here and let's circle. Our percent, of course, is right here. And the team won 40 matches. How many did they play? Well, play would be the total, and this would be the part. So this is, 40 is an is. So 40 has got to go in the is position, and we're looking for how many games they actually played. And our percent was 80. So 80%, P over 100 equals is over total games. Now notice, there was not the word is in this paragraph. I don't see it in there anywhere, do you? But is a part, and of is a total. And when it says, how many matches did the soccer team play, that would be a total. So that would have to be the of right there. And this would have to be the is. Okay? So let's work it. Well, when it looks like this, we're going to multiply these two together and divide by that one. Okay? Now, before we go any further, do you see that this number is half the size of this number? So this number has to be half the size of that number. So didn't they play 50 games? We know what it is. We don't even have to punch that in our calculator. Okay? Now, let's put it in our calculator and see what it tells us. 100 times 40 equals divided by 80, and guess what we get? We get 50, just like we said it was going to be. Okay, P 379, P over 100 equals is over of. Now, the point I was trying to make is that when we read, sometimes there's not a specific word is in there, but you got to remember is a part, and there wasn't a specific of in there. Of is always a total. Okay, turn the paper over. Example 1. How can you find the whole? We found a whole while ago, didn't we? Whole number of games. All right, let's see how they did it. Bree scored 90% on her math test. Out of the total possible points on the test, her score was 135. Okay, so how many points were possible on the test? So we're looking for an of. Possible, that would be a total number. So look at what it says over here in the little blurb. Think 90% of what is 135. See, when we think about it, we put it into one of these sentences with the of and the is and the percent. Okay? Now then, I can work this problem real easy right here. Let's don't even look at what they did. Let's think P over 100 equals is over of. This is a part, this is a whole, this part, this is a whole. So 90%, 90 over 100 equals is of what is 135. So the 135 goes in the top, and we're looking for a whole down here on the bottom. So we can multiply this times this and divide by that. But I immediately know that this number is going to be bigger than 100. Because this number is bigger than 90. So this number comes out anything less than 100, I know I'm wrong. All right, so here we go. We're going to multiply 100. Can't ever get that where you can see it. 100 times 135 and divide by 90. And I get 150. So I got W to be 150, my way. Now let's see what they did down here. All right, one way is to use a double number line diagram to find the total possible points. Bree scored 135 points, which was 90%. Let's see. Did I multiply something wrong? 100 times 135 and divided by 9. Okay, no, I didn't. Okay, so their estimation with their double line graph, and they came out, said each mark on the line represents 15 points, and so 90% would be 135. To add to find the total possible points, P would give it 150. Okay? Another 15 makes that 150. Okay, so use an equation to find the total possible points. They said 90% of what number is this, and they set it up, and they don't do it my way, but I want you to do it my way, and they come out with 150 like we did. So there were 150 total possible points on the test. Okay, so I'm not into all this drawing. I'm more into thinking about comparing my numbers. If I know this is right and this number is bigger than this one, I know this one better end up bigger than this one, and estimating my answers and that sort of thing. And the only thing that they're doing different here than what we do is they're working with their 90% in decimal form. Okay? All right. Let's look at the try it down here at the bottom. Bree took another math test and she scored 152. And 152 was 95% of the total possible points. So here's my P, here's my is, and here's my of that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the of. So P over 100, that's 95 over 100, equals is over of, and I'm going to call it X. Let's find out what that answer is. So I'm going to multiply these two and divide by this oddball. 100 times 152, and then I'm going to divide by 95. And I say there was 160 total questions on the test. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do the double number graph. I'm leaving that off. So let's go to page 381, example 2. Everybody has a preference, and I prefer not to do that. Example 2. Find the whole when the percent's greater than 100. Well, class, if my percent was greater than 100, would that change my equation any? Would P over 100 equals is over of still work? Think about it. I say it will. P over 100 equals is over of will work whether my percent is less than 100 or greater than 100. It won't make any difference. And I'm going to show you here in just a second. The students in one classroom sold tickets to the talent show. They sold 200% of the amount of tickets that were sold last year. How many tickets did the students sell last year? Okay, find the number which is 200%. Find the number of which 200% is for 40. 200%. That is worded not very well. Let's see if we can word it better. Okay, so it shows you over here in the picture that they sold a total of 40 tickets. And so they're asking you here, find the number of which 200% is 40. So here's our P and here's our is. So we have 200 over 100, 200% equals 40 over what? Okay, so if we multiply 40 times 100, you get 4,000, and then 4,000 divided by 200 is 20. So X is equal to 20. So how many tickets did they sell last year? 20. Okay, now if you look through the book's way of doing it, they did a double number graph where they took 100% and here's 200% and they put it in equal increments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, another 100. And they knew that the 200 lined up with the 40, so this was going to be half as much, so it should be 20. Okay, and you can kind of see that it's half as much with the double line graph. That's kind of a good visual on that one. Okay? All right. And then this way is the same as ours, except they use the decimal form to work with. All right, example 3. 62.5% of what is 30? Oh man, this is just too easy, isn't it? Here's my percent. I'm looking for the of. I have the is. So 62.5 over 100 equals is, which is 30 over x. I'm trying to find this whole over here. So I'm going to multiply these two and divide by that one. Everybody get your calculators and do it. I have 100 times 30 equals, and I'm going to divide by 62.5. Thank goodness for calculators. And I get 48. Okay. Now, when they did it this way, they got 48, doing it with their double number. They said 62% of 48 is 30, and 62.5% of 48 is 30. They got the same answer we did. All right, so here we go. We're going to try it. I got my percent. That's 300 over 100 of, is what I don't know, is 180. Let's go set this one up. Here's my percent. It's 0.3 over 100 of, is what I don't know, the is 24, is it goes in the top. Set them both up using P over 100 equals is over of. Part to a whole, part to a whole. Equivalent fractions. Punch them in and see what you get for your answer for both of them. Okay, on this one I got 60, and on this one I got 8,000. Yes, it's going to be a very large number. Let's look comparatively. This number is bigger, 3 times bigger than this one, so this number should be 3 times bigger than this one. Well, 3 times 60 is 180, so that is correct. This number is little bitty tiny compared to this one. So this number should be little bitty tiny compared to the number on the bottom, and it is. Remember, these are equivalent fractions. All right, let's go to page 382. Once again, good information, it's all correct, but we are going to use P over 100 equals is over of. All right. It looks to me like, well, hang on just a second. Let's go ahead and answer these. How can you find the whole in a percent problem? How can we find the whole? Well, once again, we're going to use P over 100 equals is over of. So when we're trying to find this, we're going to multiply the is times 100 and divide by the P. Okay, so just put this down on number 1. All right, let's go to number 2. When you write an equation for a problem, such as 300% of, what number is 180? What do you use to represent the what number? What do you use for that? What have we been putting in there? A variable. Do you have to use X? No. Can you use Y? Yes. Can you use R, P, Q? Any of the letters of the alphabet except for I because it looks like a 1 and O because it looks like a 0. You use any variable you'd like. Number 3. When you find the whole in a percent problem in which the percent is greater than 100%, is the whole less than or greater than the part? It's less than. We talked about that just a minute ago. Let's go back to this problem right here. When this percent is greater than 100, then the is going to be greater than the of. That's what they were asking on that question. That's what they're asking on question number 3. All right. Tony participated in 6 races, or 10% of the events. So the 10% goes with the 6 races. So do the 6 races represent the part, the percent, or the whole? And tell what the others represent. It represents a part. Okay? Do the 6 races is a part. Okay? The total events is a whole. Total events is a whole. And the 10% is a part. It's the percent part. Okay? All right, let's go to number 5. 40% of what number is 80? 40, and then we got to use this double number line to figure it out. 40% of what number is 80? Well, let's see. If 40% is 80, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 20, 40, 60, 80. So each one of these would be 20. That would be 40. That would be 60, 80. Then we got another 20. So this is 100 right here. And this is 20, 40, 60, 80, 200. So this would be 200 right here. So the answer is N equals 200. If 40% is 80, 100% is 200. We had to figure out our increments and what they stood for in order to find this missing number right here. All right, let's go to number 6. 300% of what number is 90? Well, we're going to use this chart to figure it out. Here's 100%, here's 200%, and here's 300%. There's 1, 2, 3 divisions. 90 divided by 3 is 30, so each one of these divisions is 30. So this is 30, this is 60, and that is 90. So N is equal to 30, and that's your job to do what I just did. Okay, we get to number 7. We're going to use P over 100 equals is over of on all 3 of these. Here's the P of what, that's my variable, and here's the is. So 70 over 100 equals is over of. What means a variable? And you're going to punch that in and tell me what X is equal to later. Here's my percent, here's my of is my variable, and there's my is. So 35% is P over 100 equals is 28 over of. Here's my percent, here's my of, here's my is. So 7.5% P over 100 equals is over of. And you're going to punch each one of those in, and you're going to tell me what your answers are. Take just a little bit of time and punch those in. On this one, you're going to multiply these two and divide by 70. These two and divide by 35. These two and divide by 7.5. Do it and tell me what you get. I'll wait. All right, teachers, they should have got 160 if they were punching it in correctly into their calculator. They should have got 80 if they punched it in correctly, and they should have got 200. Make sure they know how to use their calculator correctly. Okay, so your job the rest of this class period is to do your practice and problem solving page 383. If you get this done in record time, then you go ahead and do page 384 on the back side. We don't normally do both sides. But you run out of time, you keep working on P over 100 equals is over of. And these word problems are the kind that you need to be able to read and pick out the P, the is, and the of. Okay? So, work hard on this problem solving page, and I will see you next time. P over 100 equals is over of. P over 100 equals is over of.